Welcome to the SCS Happy Hour. I'm Scout, here's Joe, Will, and Alec, and hey, we're here to talk about the Senior Bowl in Mobile. So we're less than a month away from the Senior Bowl, and it looks like it's going to be a great one. I would say this is the best roster that the Senior Bowl's had maybe ever. I know some people were like, oh, it could be this year, could be that year, but relative to the draft, because every year the draft gets a little bit better, especially if you compare, 3 years ago, 4 years ago. I think you can say, bar none, this is a step above, especially a huge leap from last year in certain positions. So, first off, just want to get like a little baseline. Alec, how are we feeling about the Senior Bowl? I know that there's been plenty of guys from up north that have gone in, so how do you feel about it?
Yeah, man, I'm really excited for it. This is really, you guys have really gotten me into the Senior Bowl more than I followed it in the past. Yeah, really looking forward to it just in a month. There's a ton of great players, not even just from the North, from really all over the country, all sorts of programs. Excited to see what happens in about a month.
Yeah. And Joe, what are your thoughts?
Oh, I mean, I'm just like words can't describe how excited I am. Senior Bowl has been something that I kind of started to begin to follow the last 5 or 6 years, and then moving to kind of here in Alabama, moving to Prattville, being a little bit kind of closer to Mobile. Last year was the first year I was like, hey, why don't I just apply for credentials and see what happens? And I was approved, and it was an absolute blast. And I thought last year's roster was great. I was grateful to be there, but this year it's like it's like the DJ Khaled meme. It's like every 5 minutes, Nagy posts somebody else going to Senior Bowl, and I'm like, that dude's going to Senior Bowl. It's absolutely insane. So I'm just super excited to be there, and I mean, it can't come quick enough with all the great names on the roster.
Yeah, and me too. I'm really high on some of these guys. Obviously, y'all know we're gonna talk about RJ Harvey later. We're gonna talk about Tyler Shaw later. There's several players that I've been really high on, whether it's from just real life play, college football, 25. There's been several that have had an impact on me. But anyways, so let's jump right into it. So first things first, we're gonna talk about what puts butts in the seats. Offense. So. The Senior Bowl offense this year. Last year, it was kind of lacking in two spots, especially quarterback and running back. They had that top end talent. Spencer Rattler was there, Bo Nix was there, but some of that lower talent, it wasn't terrible, right? Like these are still some of college football's best players, but I think some of the lower quarterbacks might have not been, at the level that these quarterbacks are. And to add on to that, they have juniors now, and I think they had juniors beforehand, but this is the full, like, first full junior class this year, and Ollie Gordon and no, yeah, just Ollie Gordon out of the four down there is a junior that is being featured in this game. And yes, he didn't have the best year when it came to Oklahoma State. I think that whole offense struggled quite a bit. But individually, he is an athlete. He has those intangibles. And just to speak quickly on Harold Fannin Jr. and RJ Harvey, kind of two great prospects with different seasons. Harold Fannin, obviously a career year, a NCAA record year. I think he broke 6 or 7 records when it came to single game season, team, whatever. And he had a great year. Any year that you're bringing in 100 receptions, shout out Brock Bowers, is a great year. And obviously his last game that he just played in Mobile, he did pretty good too. Um, so yeah, so Joe, who are some of your guys on offense that you really saw? I know we'll go into our favorites a little later, but just like overall broad scope of offense, who are some of the ones that you're really looking at?
I've talked about Scottaboo before, so I'm not going to talk about him. I guess a guy that offensive like skill position players, or can it be like offensive linemen?
I mean, anything. Offense.
Because I kind of just forgot about this guy, Tate Rowledge from Georgia.
Mm.
He's probably one of my favorite interior offensive linemen from the Senior Bowl group, and um, he's an absolute dog, no pun intended, with the Georgia ties there. Obviously, was banged up a little bit this year, but I really like him. And then you've got RJ Harvey on there, so I won't talk too much about him. I'm trying to think who else. Pat Bryant from Illinois is going to be another guy that's going to be interesting to me.
Yeah, for sure. And I will say one thing. Pat almost made this list too. I was really close, either like Pat or Kyron, and we will talk about Kyron later because one of these two did pick Kyron as their pick. But yeah, but the wide receiver class, which I think we're highlighting three of them in the next bit. But the wide receiver class this year and the running back class, the skill positions on offense, insane this year, stacked. I know I made a tweet earlier that said I think the Tennessee Titans would get blown out by the current roster, and I don't think that's totally wrong. But yeah, but Alec, who are some of your guys on offense and just what you've seen through all that?
Yeah, I'm on the same page with you guys about Pat Bryant. I considered highlighting him as one of my three players. I was about to call him out right now before Joe Will stole him from me. No hard feelings though. I'm going to start with a duo of wide receivers from the great University of Iowa State. Go Cyclones! Jaden Higgins, Jaden Noel. They've been pretty productive for a couple of years now for this Iowa State offense. That it's been a very solid unit overall. I think that they both have an NFL future. I I was really high on Xavier Hutchinson as well a couple years ago. That didn't really pan out, but I do think that at least one of these two is going to have a good NFL career. Looking past that, a guy that I think is a very intriguing prospect, Woody Marks out of USC,
Yeah.
transferred in from Mississippi State this year. He's a very versatile back, great pass catcher, had a very good season for USC despite a lot of their struggles on offense.
Yeah.
I'll just go one more name. I'm going to go Jarquez Hunter at Auburn. Again, he had a couple great years with Auburn, great year this year. Yeah, not really the full season overall that Auburn wanted. I think Jarquez Hunter in a very, very deep running back class, just in the Senior Bowl and the NFL draft as a whole, I think that he's going to stand out and he's going to leave a good impression.
Yeah, and I will say, so there's about four players that I was very close to picking after I let them pick the favorites that I did not end up picking. So I'll go ahead and shout them out as well because they deserve it. Gunnar Helm, Texas, tight end, great player. I believe him and Harold are battling for 1 and 2 in the draft currently. And another tight end, honestly, CJ Dupree, who I think is a little underrated in the draft in totality. And then who was there's another one. Brew McCoy, Tennessee. I really think shout out Orange Heifel. Um, but I really think Brew's gonna shine here. I think a lot of these receivers are gonna shine, a la Pat Bryant. And then there was one quarterback, and I will say it's not necessarily that he's been not talked about, but not talked about in regards to the Senior Bowl is Jackson Dart. I think Jackson Dart, he kind of snuck into the Senior Bowl a little bit. Not a lot of people talked about him. I think there's been more talk about Will Howard making it and people mad at Will Howard making it. But the fact that we're looking at, Jackson Dart, Jalen Milrow, and Will Howard as like the quote unquote bottom three quarterbacks, that's insane. Like the fact that three guys that on any given year are a top 3 round pick, right? Like at worst, a third round pick. It's kind of insane that they're, the three worst quarterbacks out there. But yeah, and I will say one thing too, and obviously he's been a little bit more hyped up, or really both of these FCS guys have been a little bit more hyped up. Jackson Slater from Sacramento State and Gray Zabel from North Dakota State. Shout out the Bison just winning their 10th championship. Um, but both of them, I think they're going to really produce on offensive line. I think offensive line consistently is one where these FCS and lower school guys they really shine. They get a chance to shine. I know the who was oh my god, I'm gonna hate misremembering this. The Broncos center that was at the Senior Bowl or from the Senior Bowl, the one that Alice has his stomach out. Why am
Was
I?
it
Oh my
Bulls?
gosh.
Yeah.
No. No, I don't think so.
Uh,
Bowles is an offensive tackle. I know who you're talking about.
I'll forget. I'll remember at some point. It's Wait, oh, Quinn Meniers. Meniers.
Oh.
I don't think he plays for
Yes.
them anymore, but
Yes.
Quinn Meniers, I know I'm saying that word wrong. He really shined a couple years ago. He had a shot in the pros. I believe he's still on a roster, but not starting. I could be totally wrong with that. Um,
I think he did okay his rookie year. Like he
yeah,
was
he
he was
started his
decent.
rookie
Third round pick.
year.
Okay.
I'm seeing that technically he started every game that he was healthy. I just don't think he was fully healthy this year. I could be wrong. Don't shoot the messenger. But yeah, but basically, offensively speaking, it's a much improved group upon last year. I think last year the defense was up to par, but the offense was not necessarily there everywhere. Although there were players that like Milton from Tennessee, there were players that kind of everybody was like, why are they here? And then they shined. They shined in the preseason, and we could be seeing them later. But yeah, but to move on, so we're gonna talk about the defense now, the defensive side of the ball. Uh, if it will change. There we go. So the defensive side of the ball, I think that this is just loaded. Obviously, we have Scorton down there, we have Munden down there, we have Birch down there, Ransaw, my guy, one of my guys for sure, Troy Tulane guy, and then we have Shamar James down there. And I think like that's five where A, they're all my guys, but B, they're all gonna be NFL guys. They're all gonna be NFL starters. Whether it's their first or second year, they're gonna find a way into the rotation. Ransaw probably the least of a lock to that. I'm really high on Birch honestly, and I think Birch is like the fourth D lineman going in to Senior Bowl week. But I think that he has a chance to really come out of Senior Bowl week on top. So Alec, we'll go back to you for this one. You for this one. So what are your
Yeah.
thoughts regarding that?
Yeah, it's again, it's a incredibly loaded class, especially on the defensive side. A couple guys that I really like. I think everybody, especially if you followed college football a lot this season, Donovan Ezeriku from Boston College, their defensive lineman. Please apologies if I butchered that last name. He was incredibly productive. He was the ACC Defensive Player of the Year, first team All American nationally. I think he's going to have a very good Senior Bowl as well. He's just a tremendously talented player. Um, Additionally, you got that Oregon duo. We talked about Jordan Birch a little bit. I think Jamari Caldwell, he is a little bit slept on as well. It's such a talented Oregon defensive line. Obviously, you got Derek Carmen as well. One of the Youngaloles, I can't remember his first name, but I think Caldwell's a very good player that just gets a little bit lost in the sauce right there.
Yeah.
At the linebacker position, I want to talk a little bit about Colin Oliver. Oliver's a guy that he's been productive at Oklahoma State for a couple of years now. I think that he's going to be another guy with a good NFL future that isn't being talked about enough right now.
Yeah. And did you mean Princely? You meant Lee Allen?
No, I did not mean Princely. Did not mean Princely.
Oh, okay, you meant the brother. Okay, my fault. My fault. Sidetrack. Anyways, but yeah, Joe, what did you have to say about the defense? Unplug and replug your mic in, Joe.
Come
But
on,
yeah.
Joe.
Oh,
What are we doing
while
here?
he's doing, talk again. You good? No, we
I
can't
don't
hear you.
think he's very good.
Anyways, okay, so I'll talk for a minute. Just speak up a little bit, Joe, whenever you're back. But yeah, but the D line, the linebackers in this group, I think it's really stacked, honestly. And I will say my pick, like my 100% guy, and I'm talking to fill some time to get the name right, but my 100% guy I want for the Jaguars would be Michigan Josiah Stewart D lineman. It's a weird pick, right? But I just think that he's a the size and shape that he has fits into that line, especially if we keep Nielsen. And it's one of those things where I'm just like, I like the way that he plays football, and as long as he's playing football the way that he did in Michigan, totally okay with it. I believe he's another one. Yeah, he was a transfer from Coastal, and I liked him just as much when he was at Coastal. But yeah, but Joe, you want to try it again? My boy in the nether realm. But yeah, while
Yeah.
we're working on that, uh, I just try. But yeah, so basically the defense is also stacked elsewhere. Obviously, Smell Munden, he's a dog. I really like the way that he plays football. All the Georgia guys on defense of the last 3 to 4 years, they're NFL ready. They're in a defense that is very similar to that they run in the NFL. And then all of a sudden, whenever like someone drafts them and they quote unquote fall down the board like a Jordan Davis or a Jalen Carter, right? So they fall down just a little bit, and the Eagles snatch them up, and then all of a sudden they're homeward bound, right? And then I will say one last guy as we talk about defense, as long as Joe isn't coming back. Um, Xavier Watts for Notre Dame. Um, DB, also a very, very talented defensive back. I really think the defensive back group is going to be the one that shines in Mobile. It's an interesting one because I'm not sure how some of this, with the Big Ten being a wider conference now. I'm gonna assume that the SEC is on one side and the Big Ten's on the other. But I don't know how some of the other conferences might go, or I don't know because with how many Big Ten and SEC guys are in this, I don't know if certain teams are gonna flip as well. Like, could we see an Oklahoma player playing for like a Billy Bowman playing for the North? So like that would be my only contest of like which side would be better. Um, but yeah, but overall, I do think that the DB group, and also another UCF shout out, BJ Adams, from UCF. But yeah, I'm just scrolling through because there are a few. If you're like, why haven't you talked about him? Why haven't you talked about him? Don't worry, they'll come up in a minute. But yeah, but that's it for defense. Will, you want to try one more time? This man, oh my lord.
Can you
What
hear
is he
me?
doing?
Oh wait, I heard
There
you.
we
We
go.
heard you there.
Yeah.
It's plugged in.
Oh wait, I think it's your. I think when you unplug
Can
it.
you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Yes, we can.
You're
Now we
delayed, but we
cannot.
can hear you. No, the first we could hear you the first time.
You can hear me now.
Yes, we can hear you now.
Mhm.
We can't hear you
Why is
then.
this delayed?
Just go with what we can hear you with. What can we hear you with?
You can hear me now.
Yes, it's delayed, but we can
Oh
hear you.
my god!
Do you have your phone with you, bro?
Like that, that's it, really.
Do you have your phone like on Discord?
I see. It's so lame. Yes,
Okay, get on your phone, get on Discord. Okay, and then we'll talk about.
I
Okay,
have.
so
No, I
our.
don't have the app. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Okay, you want to talk about defense? Is he talking again? We lost you again. Did you join? I don't think you joined off the
It's
app though,
delayed.
because it didn't talk exactly.
It's delayed.
Oh.
Don't worry about me. Okay, it's fine.
Okay.
I'm done on Discord.
Anyways, okay. So we'll move on to our favorites for that, and we'll just chop up that last portion. But yeah, so our favorite selections of the game. So, Mr. Alec, I'll go back to you, and you can talk about your favorite selections. Obviously,
Yes,
he
sir.
picked the first, second, and then we had an error, so he ended up picking the first, second, and then the sixth, seventh, the eighth on the side over here. So yeah, so Alec, go ahead.
Yeah, I got a couple notes. Let me try and find that. Jack Beck, he's a guy that fantastic season at TCU. I think TCU, they were very quiet. I think they finished the season 9-4, ended on a pretty good winning streak. And Beck is one of the big reasons for that. He's a 6'2", 210-pound wideout, over 1,000 yards a year ago, 62 catches, 9 touchdowns, and really, this is not very high tech, fancy analysis. The best way to describe him is he just gets open. He uses his body very well. He can run the full route tree. And after that, once he gets the ball, he's got great hands, by the way. After that, he fights for extra yards very well. He's a guy who can play in the slot and outside. I really like what he can do for an NFL team. I think he's a very versatile player, and versatility works to,
Yeah.
give you a spot in the NFL. Past that, I want to talk about Andrew Makuba, 6 foot, 190 pound safety, still in the college football playoff. Obviously, had that game-winning interception against Arizona State in the Peach Bowl. 63 tackles this year, 38 are solo. He's got a forced fumble, and also 5 interceptions, 6 pass breakups. When I see his tape, I see a very instinctive player. He knows exactly where he's got to be on the field. Fourth-year senior. He's played in all 4 seasons. I want to say he was ACC All Freshman Defensive Player of the Year back in 2021. So he knows what he's doing. Obviously, he's a hard hitter, especially for being only 190 pounds. He's going to lay the boom. He's a guy that he's a difference maker in this defense. He flies all over the field. He is a playmaker. He's a guy, you stick him at safety, he's going to do some great things. He's a guy that I think he might even get into the end of the first round if everything goes well. Final guy that I want to talk about is a guy that he's kind of has slipped this year, I'll be honest. Dorian Strong, cornerback for Virginia Tech. I think he did get a little bit overshadowed by Mansour Delane, and overall, this Virginia Tech team wasn't as good as we expected. I thought they'd probably be a 9-3 team this year. They ended up 6-6. Obviously, there's some other problems with the team, mainly coaching, but that's besides the point. When I see Dorian Strong, I see a guy with fantastic ball skills. Last year, he had 2 interceptions, 3 interceptions a year before that, 6 pass breakups, additionally 20 solo tackles, 32 total, forced fumble recovery. He makes plays on the ball. It's absolutely huge for Strong. Get him in a spot where, yeah, he might be trailing on the play. He will recover. He will get a breakup. He will even intercept the ball. I think he's at his best in man coverage. He can play in zone as well. Probably a cover 3 defense would suit him the best. He's a guy. I think he's going to have a great Senior Bowl. I think he's going to rise up draft boards.
Yeah, and that was it for you, right? For all your three.
Yes, those are my 3.
Cool, cool, cool. So I'll go in on one of Joe's while he helps that, and Walter Nolan, who would have been one of my picks if he didn't pick him. 6'4", 290. He's currently, and I thought this was crazy because usually Walter football is pretty solid when it comes to positional rankings. Currently 13th as a 3-4 defensive end, in this draft. But I think Nolan, he had 6.5 sacks this year. He had plenty of sacks at A&M before moving to Ole Miss. I think like this guy, he's a game wrecker when you need him, right? Now, I think
Yeah.
similar to our conversation about quarterbacks in the last episode last week, I think with D linemen, you need that guy that can get you 3 or 4 like game-changing plays over a season, right? I think less and less now. You can get those guys that can just make plays, like you can get them anywhere now, right? But those guys that for 3 or 4 plays, and maybe it's not over the season, maybe it's every game or whatever, right? But if they can just give me, like especially I'll point out one guy in the pros that he kind of plays like is Trayvon Walker. Now I don't think he's as an athletic freak as Trayvon is, but Trayvon kind of goes
A little
underappreciated,
underrated,
I guess.
almost.
Yeah,
Yeah.
underrated,
hmm
underappreciated. But as that, like he's gonna get you over 5 sacks. I would say somewhere between 5 and 12 sacks, depending on what team he goes to. And I think like Walter has compared to some of these guys that he's around. I don't want to name calling them. I'm just looking at the list right now. But compared to some of these guys that he's around, I think he's gonna shoot up the boards, especially with the Senior Bowl. Because some of the guys that he's below aren't even invited to the Senior Bowl. I think that speaks volumes as well. And I'll go in on one of my guys who quite literally just got put up there, and I just want to make sure I'm going to the Senior Bowl page just to read off his name. Um, Carson Schwessinger, I believe that's correct. But UCLA linebacker, obviously, this was one of the guys that uh, Jim Nagy talked about, I think, once a week, at least, maybe once every other week. But he's a dude. He's almost like a fullback at linebacker, and he's really like he's a very good. I would say his comp. This might be a crazy comp, but like almost like a Henry To'o, where he's like a bumper linebacker, but I think he has a little bit more speed, more pursuit, and better coverage. So he kind of has like the same archetype as To'o, but he kind of, as a prospect, has more athleticism, or at least more like, side to side and more coverage. So I don't know. He's a ball player, utility guy on defense. Probably looked at as more of a box safety type, wider safety. I'm not sure how. I'm not sure how NFL teams look at him as a linebacker. Potentially an outside guy, but he's a college linebacker size, but I don't know if that makes him a safety in the NFL with how wide some of these linebackers get. And yeah, and then my other guy that I had picked was Eugene Asante from Auburn. And then Eugene, he's a great player, just a guy that he's gonna be one of the best players in in any draft basically. Um, and we are getting Will back really quickly, so I apologize.
Can
But
you hear me?
yes, we can hear
We
you
can
now.
hear you.
Now I just
Oh
have
my
to
We
gosh,
make
can't
sure
it's a
see
that.
you, but we can
Christmas.
hear you.
It's a
Well,
Christmas
that's on
miracle.
my end to make that happen. Anyways, but back on Eugene Asante, I apologize for having
Eugene Asante.
to put that. Yeah, he's a dog. He's one of my favorite players. He has been for ages at this point, and I really think that he's homeward bound when it comes to the NFL. I think whatever team he goes to, he's going to have an instant impact. I want to say, look, okay, defensive guys. I usually don't have the best luck with like putting a comparison on them, but he's almost like a Devin White, right? He's a little bit bigger, but
Ooh,
like
it's high praise.
speed wise, and like the effort he puts in, I would definitely say that he's up there with Devin White, and just like that whole kind of thing. Also, you sent me the same link, but it's not loading any video from that link. So are you sure about that, brother? Um, but anyways, moving forward there. And then obviously we got two more down there. We got our guy Tej Johnson from Pinson Valley, Bo Nix's basically adopted brother, I believe actual adopted brother
He
as
is, yeah.
well.
Additional, yeah.
Um, and then we have Kyron Lacey. These are two receivers that they're gonna ball out no matter what. They're gonna be your guys probably whenever you watch the game. Um, I think either of them could break open for like a huge run. I think Joe Milton last year was really criticized for a lack of receiver, or he was criticized for things that would have been covered up if there wasn't a lack of receiver. And I don't think there's a lack of receiver in this draft. Obviously, Tez doesn't have his favorite quarterback there. I believe Bo would still be his favorite quarterback, but he will have Dylan Gabriel on his team, and they have plenty of chemistry as well. Um, and then with Kyron, Nussmeyer is not here, but
Ooh.
there's several quarterbacks that have similar mechanics to Nuss. I shouldn't say those words. They have several quarterbacks that have a similar play style to Nuss. I know if I say mechanics, there's certain people that will jump on that and be like, actually, but you know, we're not huge on different things with like that. So
Iron had a pretty solid year too.
what?
Iron had a pretty solid year too.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And I guess too, I mean, this is a guy that was playing behind Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas, who went off
Right.
this year, and he still, I think, had 7 touchdowns last year. So he still produced a lot, even with those guys,
Yeah.
kind of eating up most of the catches. So I'm very high on Kyron Lacey. I think he's kind of slept on a little bit. And I'm thinking in Mobile, he's gonna kind of get his draft stock up. I don't think he'll be a first round or anything, but I would not be shocked if he goes like
Top
early
60.
second. Yeah,
Top
for
60.
sure.
Yeah.
I think I saw a mock draft earlier. He was going to like the third or fourth round. I just don't see that happening with the talent that he has and all the scouts and people that are the ones that make all the money. Picking these guys in the NFL. I think they're going to see him in Mobile and be like, oh, he's the real deal.
Yeah. And I will say one thing, Joe. On your Video Ninja, just restart it because you sent me the same link that you did beforehand. So I'm wondering if that session just like ended. So like now, whenever you try it, because
Yeah,
it's not even giving me like
actually.
a round of. Anyways, but yeah, but I did want to just like open the floor to talk about whatever. And I will say one other thing with this. I don't think I've had a chance to say. So I will be at the Senior Bowl Joe will be at the Senior Bowl. He will be in New York. But or I say he, as in Alec, will be in New York, and then Lucas will also be at the Senior Bowl. So we'll finally have a moment where we're all kind of in the same territory. But I think it'll be really cool when looking upon everything of having that having that ambiance of having all these different people and having all these different communities and stuff all kind of joined together in one. Because one thing, so I met Fielder, Rivals Fielder, a Kansas State guy. I met him at the Senior Bowl. I met a bunch of other guys who were all riders and stuff. And it was kind of just like I was kind of just like, hey, like who are y'all, right? It was like halftime. I was in the press box. So I was just asking questions, and there were several. He's a KSU guy. One of the guys, I believe, it was like UMass, KSU, and Oregon were the three. And it was just getting to know all these different people. So it's definitely an entertaining time. I encourage, even if you're just a fan, coming to the game, especially if you have one of these like one of these people. Or if you have one of these teams that are, or one of these players on one of these teams, you just come out and support them. There's a ton of LSU and a ton of LSU, ton of Ole Miss, ton of Michigan. And I know Michigan's quite a drive, but let's look it up. Hold on. So of the schools, there's 4 Alabama players, 3 Auburn players, 5 Georgia players, 4 Iowa State, 6 LSU, 4 Miami, 4 Michigan, 3 Minnesota, um, 4 Ohio State, 5 Ole Miss, 7 Oregon, and okay, Oregon lost to Ohio State. I
Lots of
know
Oregon.
what.
I said lots of Oregon guys. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I know Oregon's on the other side of the world, but hey, just to like ask the Nike CEO for some money, and he might give it to you. 4 Texas guys. We got a Tulane guy. We got 4 Virginia Tech guys, 2 West Virginia, and 2 Wisconsin. So it's like, dude, we got plenty of talent. Come down. It's by the beach, by the bay. Will it be warm? Probably not. I would say definitely not, honestly. Um, but it'll be fun. It'll be fun, right?
I
So if
will
you
say, last year I got a sunburn, so just be careful.
Oh, the
It's
sun will
that
be out
winter,
for sure.
the
If you're not
winter
used to the sun,
sun.
it was a
The
50-degree
first day,
game
I
and
remember
I had a redneck by the end of the game.
I remember the first day
Have you
after
gotten the
practice, I had to get sunscreen.
Joe, have you gotten your link back?
It's this is chalked. Mine. It's like I think it's partially my internet, so I'm just gonna be a
We are
mysterious
probably on the
voice, I
same
guess.
internet, anyways. But anyways, folks, that was it for the SCS happy hour. I apologize for like the last 20-ish minutes of that kind of, or that wasn't 20-ish minutes.
It's my fault.
It was a 30-minute show. Apologize for that kind of falling apart right at the end. But yeah, this was the SS Happy Hour. We just talked about the Senior Bowl. We will get back on to talk about the playoffs later in the week. Have some picks for that. Have some NFL action probably coming at you. But we just wanted one episode just to talk about the Senior Bowl, right? Just to have some clips to get from the Senior Bowl, and we will probably talk about it more. Obviously, this roster is not set in stone yet. There was 2 or 3 that were uploaded right before we started on this. So we'll probably do another one of these right before. Not talking about the whole thing, just talking about updates and stuff like that. Or if there's a player that we thought or like we didn't talk about beforehand and then we talk about now, stuff like that. Or if Lucas is on here and he has different attitudes or whatever. But anyways, so that's all for me. Alec and Joe, do y'all want to give your goodbye speeches and then we'll be up?
I can go.
Yeah.
Goodbye, y'all. Have a good night. Sorry you guys didn't get to see Joe Will's beautiful face.
Yeah. And Joe, in the darkness?
You can hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Go.
Okay, there's a delay, but I just obviously apologize for my technical difficulties. I'm excited for the Senior Bowl. Hats off to Jim Nagy for putting together another insane roster. Um, he's the best of the best. That's why he was literally interviewed for an NFL GM job. The guy's the real deal, and I can't wait to see what other tricks he has up his sleeve for Mobile.
For sure, for sure. And shout out Jim. We're your #1 fans of Jim. Don't worry. Literally, I don't think anyone else comments on every single post other than me and Joe. because we're that dedicated. We're that much of a fan.
Yeah, we might have to tone that back a little bit.
Yeah. Or maybe I
Look,
gotta start
okay,
commenting so we can
he's
cover.
He's
Give me
gonna
away
think
to
we're like
Alabama.
stalking him or something.
he's posted like some normal stuff, and I've not commented on it. But usually that man just posts straight bangers. And how am I not supposed like he posted that thing about Schwessinger? How am I not supposed to comment on that?
I did quote tweet the Harold Fannin thing with Holdman Jim, so I had to delete that.
But
That was a
hold
little
him,
much,
Jim.
I think.
What you deleted that? I was trying to find that, bro. That would have been hold me,
I
Jim.
deleted
Like,
it.
anyways, but yeah, but that was the SES happy hour, folks. I hope you appreciated it. And and for future reference, we will start to go live on these on Twitter. Just so and this is basically a live show, no matter what. We record it, we have it out. This is the first time we've had a difficulty like that, so who knows? Who knows? But yeah, but we'll keep pushing on this end. And for that, I'm out.